Hello again. So after inking up this cartridge and deciding I don't really like the pen after all, and I don't want to risk the cartridge coming loose in the pen while, again, here I am not using it, it is time for me to clean. Normally I would do this over the kitchen sink or a bathroom sink or just any other, bowl of water, because you can see there's plenty, as little dye as there was in that syringe. As little as there was, you see how blue it has made this tiny bit of water. And now I don't have anywhere to put the water. Well, I do, actually. I don't really want to do this, but it means emptying out another container I've been using and making more mess on my table, but that's okay. Alright, so pretty shade of blue there, though. If only the ink were that light colored, right? So I wonder if I could use that as ink, that diluted. And probably there's a way to do so, but I think you're supposed to use a dilution fluid and not just plain straight water. I think for daily use and just, quick note writing or whatever, it's probably okay. I don't know for a fact, mind you, because here again, I'm learning this as I go. So maybe it would be okay if I wanted to use this as ink, this diluted liquid here, but I don't want to risk it. Certainly there'd be no reason why it would harm my nib, because I want to dip my nib in the water anyway. However, I don't want to fill a pen with something that I'm going to wind up not actually using. Now, I don't know, you didn't see what I just did there. I couldn't get the syringe off of my... I couldn't get the needle off of my syringe, I'll put it that way. So I just used the cap, put the cap on it, because the cap has kind of a... I don't know what to call that in there. It's got a way that it forces it to only fit the needle in one of 4 positions. So it works as a kind of a needle wrench, if you will. And the reason I wanted to do that, I'll show you here in a second, is because I discovered that the diameters of the syringe and the cartridge are very similar. And on at least one of my pens, this one is not going to be one, on at least one of my pens I can take a syringe and force it onto the feed of the nib. And you don't always want to do that because you're going to be risking breaking off that tiny little, I don't even know what to call that part of the feed, but you're going to wind up breaking off that tiny little nubbin, and in so doing, making the feed basically, well, the feed will probably still work, but you won't have anything with which to puncture the seal of the cartridge. So it's not something you really want to mess around with. Now, when I drop a nib in, I always drop it in tines up. And usually, I'll drop it in on the edge and let it slide down, but I really don't care about this pen. I really don't. While I'm letting that sit there and soak, I really, 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 really wish I had done that last. Not that it matters, because I'm going to wind up cleaning this out with some fresh water anyway. And this ink is so diluted in here, it's not even really something I could call ink. All right, So the reason I would normally do this over the kitchen sink is because over the kitchen sink I could keep rinsing a cup out or a jar or whatever, and then I could take the cartridge and squirt clean water into it over the sink instead of over a cup. Now if I were changing colors even slightly or changing brands, I would want to do this every time, because you don't want one color of ink contaminating another color. You don't want to mix brands, because they might, even within the same brand, you might wind up with two different lines of ink, like Noodler's. Noodler's has, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he makes several different lines of ink, and each line has something in common with other inks from the same line. For instance, the Eel series has a lubricant in it, made from frog sweat, I think he said on a website. But you know, you might not want to mix the chemicals of one ink with the chemicals of another. So it's really important that you clean out any cartridge that you're going to use. Oh, that's what happened. Is that, see that ball there? That's what happened to my ink in the last video. That ball got into the area where the ink and the air mixed, and surface tension probably is what caused it to cause an air bubble there. Wow, that's really annoying. That's just poor design right there. Come on. I can always do centrifugal force, I just don't like to. Alright, so that cartridge is basically about as clean as I'm going to be able to get it. You can see no longer than I've had this Koh-i-Noor ink in here. There's a trick, so I can wedge the ball in like that. That'll make it to where I can suck the oh, maybe not. Just when I think I'm being smart, right? Right here on YouTube for everyone to see it. Like I said, I'm learning it with you, right? Yeah, this is a pain in the neck. Well, I've got, like I was saying earlier in the other video, I've got like a dozen of these things sitting in the foyer on a shelf in this little thing where we keep various things that we use day to day. So I think I'm just going to chuck this one and get another one, get a brand new one, rather than trying to clean this one out. But basically, if you're going to reuse a cartridge, you're going to want to clean it out anytime you change ink. Well, that much, anytime you change an ink color, you would think it would be obvious. But some people are probably thinking, well, you know, I'm going from a dark blue to a light blue, or I'm going from a light blue to a darker blue. Do I really need to clean it out? Yes, yes you do. Because if you're doing two different lines of ink, they may have two different kinds of chemical compositions, and just a tiny bit of one ink might have a negative reaction with another ink. Maybe it turns it more acidic. Maybe one of the chemicals acts as a catalyst with one of the other chemicals to form something more corrosive on your nib. Maybe something that would etch gold plating, for instance, or maybe something that'll etch something that looks like gold plating but really, truly is not. You know, you don't want to make your pen ugly just because you got lazy and didn't want to rinse out your cup or cartridge. So there you go. Cleaning out a cartridge in 10 minutes or less. And like I say, I'm going to continue learning, and as I learn, I'll continue making these videos. Hopefully they're helping somebody. Feel free to leave me a comment down on the bottom and tell me if you think, should I keep this up? Am I helping you? Let me know. Until next time, have a good night.